Susan Angel with CNS Healthcare joins us now to discuss PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. We hear a lot about it. Susan, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. You know, oftentimes when we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, the first thing that people conjure up in their minds are, you know, usually soldiers, wartime, like you're seeing right there on television. People that have witnessed some kind of life-changing, horrifying event. This gentleman here is someone that apparently suffers from it as well. And it is from things we see and experience. Is that right?
That's correct. It's something that we perceive as extremely traumatic. And there's lots of different events that can cause those symptoms, not just one specific thing. So you've got the military veterans who are exposed to terrible atrocities there while serving our country.
Right. We see somebody that walks on one of those IEDs or something like that, or loses a limb right in front of you. It really does a number on a lot of the people, and it as it should. I mean, as it would normally one would think. But sometimes just regular life events, and we have some pictures we want to show, and we'll talk about what we're seeing. But that's like a serious car accident.
Absolutely.
Something that's not anticipated, something that happens right away, and all of a sudden you might lose someone and something like that. Is that what you say?
You do, and you know, you think about car accidents, even if, you know, it goes back even like trauma, you know, a sexual assault. Even, you know, back in 2005 when we were seeing an influx of people from Louisiana after Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people such as that, or we've had, you know, refugees who've come here who, again, not necessarily veterans, but have experienced the results of war in their country. So there's lots of different events that can happen that can affect this type of change in people.
Well, like I guess with Katrina, they were all losing their homes, and so they couldn't go back. There was nothing left to go back to because the water damage was so intense.
And when you think about this, you know, there's about, you know, between 7 to 8% of Americans will experience PTSD
and what
in
about
their
this
lifetime.
picture? This is a husband yelling at his wife and children. So you got some
domestic abuse
situation, and how horrible. And oftentimes the women in these situations stay in these situations because sometimes it's what they knew growing up. And so I guess they're familiar with it somehow. To me, I would run the other way. But not everybody. It's all emotional.
You know, and of course, you know, some people experience the same stressor and may not develop the symptoms. There's lots of different, you know, factors that can contribute to the development of symptoms apart from the exposure itself. You know, they talk about resilience in people, and people who are resilient, you know, they may have the support systems in place or other things that can help them get through it. And then there are those that don't have support and are left to deal with these things on their own, and it may make them more susceptible to the symptoms.
Okay, and what would the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder be?
When you think about someone who has PTSD, there's what they call re-experiencing. So patients may have flashbacks, nightmares, or reoccurrence of the event itself. There's also avoidance. So you're going to want to avoid situations that remind you of the event, or avoid situations that may precipitate a flashback or something of that nature. You also see some sort of evidence of like hyperarousal, like you might be on guard, you may startle easily, you may get agitated or angry. Then there are also other mood disturbances where you have like loss of interest in things that you used to enjoy, or isolate yourself from others. And then, you know, sometimes there's cognitive
confusion
symptoms. Well, not only that, like you may black out certain parts of the trauma, have difficulty remembering, but it's a whole cluster of symptoms that can affect people. And, you know, there's a range in severity. You know, people can have it and function, then there are others that it does interfere with their quality of life and their ability to do things on a daily basis.
Right, and it's just that everyday coping that you still have to get up, go to work, or, you know, function in however you're functioning. But I know certainly the loss of a loved one can really do a number on a lot of people. And as we saw, that one lady that was holding her head in the hospital, when you, sometimes it's the grieving process. At first it's a shock process, and then there's really no easy way about it, because sometimes if there's a long goodbye, it can be just as difficult as a sudden loss without being able to say goodbye. That's what I've heard.
Yes, and it's all individually specific. You know, some patients may have symptoms for a very short period of time and are able to process it and move forward, and then there are some people that the symptoms may come out of the blue, you know, like with a delayed onset. And again, individually specific, you may be able to cope with it, get the treatment or intervention that you need to move on, but for some people it's a chronic condition.
And that's where you guys come in. And so you're offering some clinical trials right now that if anybody feels like they may be suffering from any of the things that we've just been up here talking about, we can go to the CNS Healthcare and get medication that maybe can help stabilize our moods, and shouldn't be embarrassed about it, because getting help is a good thing.
You know, and that's one of the things that's really great about our organization. Again, it's of no cost to the patient, and you can come and you can have an evaluation, a diagnostic workup, where we can determine if in fact you are suffering from PTSD. And if so, we would do a full medical workup as well, where you would, you know, have laboratory screening, a physical examination, some assessments to measure your overall, you know, quality of life and how you're functioning. So it's a very thorough workup. And
Tell us where you're located too, because I want everybody to know where to go.
We are on Belfort Road, which is on the corner right there of Salisbury Road and Belfort Road, near St. Vincent South Side, as well as the Dave & Buster's. So some people are familiar with Dave & Buster's. But the opportunity here is, you know, we're evaluating medications to see if they help minimize the symptoms. And so we're monitoring the effectiveness of the medications in reducing symptoms, as well as the benefit that it has on the overall quality of life.
It's real important, and we're glad that you came in to share this information.
It.
All right, we'll see you again soon. See you next month. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Coming up next, 904thin.com, helping you get healthy and lose weight at the same time. And the annual Guns and Hoses event will be taking place this Saturday, April 22nd at Veterans Memorial Arena. You can see the firefighters take on policemen for the annual fundraiser. For more information, log on to jaxevents.com.